Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Movie Critic Rob here with the Movie Channel, and we have gotten to one of the best movies that I had never seen. Believe it or not, this movie is considered to be one of the best Batman stories, because it is an original story, and it considered to be one of the best Batman movies made. Some people even consider it the best, topping even Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. If you haven't figured out what it is yet, and if you didn't read the title of this video, I'm talking, of course, about Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Ironically, Nostalgia Critic, who I watch a lot, this is not a plug for Nostalgia Critic, but he made a video talking about this movie in which he said that he had no clue how this movie had not gotten a Blu-ray release, seeing as how the Schumacher films, for instance, had gotten a Blu-ray release. Well, about a year after I first saw that video, maybe less, it was announced that this movie was coming out on Blu-ray, and I had never really seen this movie all the way through. I'd seen bits and pieces on the TV, and so I figured now is the time when I get to watch this movie. This has probably some of the most iconic performers to have ever taken on Batman. I'm talking, of course, about Kevin Conroy and his foil, Mark Hamill, as the infamous Joker, Mr. J, as Harley Quinn calls him, who also, if you didn't know, was born on Batman the Animated Series, and she was not one of the original characters from the lore. Anyway, this movie is an original story involving the Phantasm. Now, who is this Phantasm? That is the mystery of the movie. By the way, this is a spoiler review. All my I have never seen reviews are spoiler-filled reviews. So if you haven't seen this movie, stop now. Go watch it first. Seriously, go watch it first. I don't want to spoil anything for you. But if you're still here, we're going to talk some spoilers. So the whole movie revolves around this Phantasm character. Now, who is this Phantasm character? Well, throughout the entire movie, we get to see a origin story that had never really been presented, or a part of the origin story that had never been presented. We don't get to see the Waynes murdered, which I'm so glad they glossed over that, but instead they give us the repercussions of Bruce Wayne's life, and specifically before he dons on the cowl for the first time. And we see him happy. For the first time since his parents were murdered, we see him happy with this young woman that has come into her life, to come into his life. Sorry, Bruce. And he's struggling with that because he doesn't feel like he deserves to be happy. Now, you might think, well, that's really weird, but this is a man that, ever since his parents died, devoted his life to fighting crime and to never letting that happen to anyone again, what happened to him with his parents. And so he meets a kindred spirit, somebody who has a soft heart, but yet a little bit of grit under there, in this young woman. And he's happy for the first time, and that confuses him. And what results is some of the most powerful scenes ever to be put on screen. Now, the music of this movie is not done by Hans Zimmer, but curiously enough, Hans Zimmer did have a part in the music of this movie. The music of this movie is done, I believe, by Dana something or other. I can't remember her name. But anyhow, Hans Zimmer definitely had a part to play in this. I actually read up on that, and it shows. The score specifically is operatic. It's bombastic, and the performances the same. I mean, Mark Hamill had me laughing more than I should have laughed as a 23-year-old at a cartoon, except for Tom and Jerry. But he was legitimately funny, and when he comes on the screen, he just commands that presence, and it's just through his voice and the animation, and it's amazing. We get to see the first time that Bruce Wayne puts on the cowl, and we don't see his face after he puts it on for the first time. We see a reaction by Alfred, And just that reaction sells it. We get to see some of the most visceral moments of Batman ever put to screen. Specifically, one where he's in a car chase, or not in a car chase, he's being chased through the city of Gotham by police, and his mask has been taken off, and he's trying to hide his identity while going through bushes. And I'm treading a lot of the ground that Nostalgia Critic actually tread, but I wanted to tread it because this is my viewing now, and I had never seen this, and I'm glad to see that all of what he said in the movie or in his video was true. He didn't give away any spoilers, which I am doing a little bit of because I'm assuming you've seen it, and I gave you fair warning. Do not watch my video if you have not watched this movie, because you need to get this spoiler free. So, who is the Phantasm? That is the question. And he's going around killing mob bosses. There's some confusion as to whether or not this is Batman, who has just upped his game, because the story is told a lot like how Batman Begins tells its story. And I don't know if maybe this was the story that influenced that kind of storytelling in Batman Begins. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure. If somebody knows the definite answer, drop it down in the comments. But we're in this story, and yet the movie flashes back a lot to give us some backstory. Not the backstory that everybody decides to tread on, but what happened after. And Bruce Wayne struggling with that identity of, should he be the crime fighter, or should he be this happy person, just like lead a normal life? And that is absolutely compelling, and some of the greatest character study of Batman ever done in a film is done here. And I see why people say that this, an animated movie, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, is the greatest Batman movie they've of all time for them, because of things like that. Not only that, but like I said, the Joker is just Mark Hamill just goes out of his way to make an unforgettable performance. Even if you've seen Batman the Animated Series, which a lot of these people that created this movie, I'm talking about Alan Burnett, Bruce Timm, Michael Uslan, they had worked on Batman the Animated Series and came back for this movie. I'm so glad they did, because you get a lot of the aesthetic, you get a lot of that, but it's just hyped up and amped up to such a degree that makes it so amazing. So the Phantasm ends up being the girlfriend, Andrea, that he has been courting, even proposed to this girl, only to have her say no. And you find out later in the movie why she ended up having to say no. And it's because her father works for these mob bosses that, of course, he couldn't pay. It's a classic mob story, but it's done so well. And then we get to forward into the movie. He sees one of the mob bosses, who ends up actually being Joker, in this new origin story, which works really well, to be honest with you. And he is seen leaving her house. She's walking in, and of course the dad is dead. So now she dons the identity, and of course these are flashbacks to the main story that's going on, because in the story she's already the Phantasm. So she dons the identity of the Phantasm and starts just randomly killing all of the mob bosses. Very cool. And of course, because everybody thinks it's Batman, because it looks a lot like Batman, but it's not. From a distance, it looks like Batman. People are hunting Batman down. The cops are hunting Batman down. The commissioner, well, not the commissioner, but like the mayor is after Batman too. And you see why later, because there's a complicated plot there that he was also involved with the gangsters, and he was also involved with the girl who. There's a very great romantic triangle there that you need to watch this movie. I could talk about this movie ad nauseum for an hour, and I still could not describe to you how awesome this movie is. It keeps your attention the entire way through. There's not a slow moment. Alfred is a standout in this movie, just like he is in the animated series. He's got a dry wit, which I'm glad that now Jeremy Irons is bringing to Alfred, whereas the Michael Caine Alfred was more of the warm, loving, fatherly type. Jeremy Irons is more that snappy, witty, it's still fatherly, but he's got more of that dry wit and more of that, visceral, like, not visceral, but like snappy, I guess you could say, snappy tongue, where he goes back and forth with Batman, and it's amazing. The rapport that these two have, and that he can do that, and it's great dialogue, great exchanges, great story with a bombastic ending. They go out of their way to make this cinematic, and just they really revel in that story, and the story flows well, doesn't have a dry moment, doesn't have a dead moment, doesn't have a moment where you could feel like you could get up and go to the bathroom. I'm glad I got this on Blu-ray because I could pause it and then come back. And I was just invested the entire time. These scenes are tremendous, some of the best ever put to a Batman movie, and to a movie period, to be honest, especially in animated. And I know people think animated is children's fare. This is one of those that comes around not very often to prove everybody wrong. So go out and watch this movie, guys. It's amazing. I really recommend it. If I had a rating system, which I don't, because I feel like you could tell what I think about a movie without giving it a rating, and I just have a hard time with rating things. But if I had a rating, this would get a 10,000 and an A++. This is a fantastic movie that you simply must watch. And if you can get the Blu-ray, I think it's about $15 on Amazon, go for it. This has been Movie Critic Rob with the Movie Channel. And as always now, I'm signing off.